Okay, everybody, I'm going to give you just a run through on a flex fuel sensor for the E40 pcm for the 2005, 2006 GTOs, and there's a few other vehicles that have the E40 as well. But mine is an 05 GTO. I'm running an 88mm turbo on a 5.3. You can kind of see what I've got going on. It's a little dirty. I got to get it cleaned up once I'm done. I haven't had a chance to even get this thing tuned yet. It's got a base tune and it's ready for the dyno now. I just finished putting exhaust on it, so I figured I'd run through this real quick. There's a lot of people asking about it. So this is the kit I bought. It's a Innovate 3904 MTXD ethanol percent and temp complete kit. This kit installed extremely easy. It's got pretty good instructions. The only thing it leaves out is it's basically set up for an aftermarket ECM or another type of ECM that takes a voltage signal for your fuel percent. Our ECMs take a pulse width signal, and it doesn't work with this kit unless you splice into the signal wire from your sensor. So what I'll show you is here's how my sensors ran. I've got it connected straight to my fuel lines. I've got my fuel rail. My inlet is on the passenger side right over here. So you can see my outlet on the driver's side, and this is 6 AN braided line. I've got a 90-degree fitting back here that comes off of my rail, goes into my fuel pressure regulator. And then from my regulator, we have a 90 into my flex fuel sensor. You can see it's an Innovate sensor. And also it's the Continental sensor and not the actual GM sensor that comes with the kit. So then you can see I've got it plumbed in this 6AN, and this 6AN hose goes into my factory hard line. It's a -6 hard line back to my fuel tank as my return. So it's a pretty simple setup, and it actually works really well. Okay, so next what I had to do is I had to run my wires through my firewall. You can see I've got kind of a mess back here because I relocated my ECM, and it goes all through the firewall right there. Once it goes through, I've got it plumbed under the dash and up to my panel, and I'll show you my gauge panel in a second. Okay, now I'm in my car, and here's my AEM True Boost and then the Innovate gauge that shows your ethanol percentage. I'm going to go ahead and turn the key on so you can see how it works. I got a kind of a crappy batch of E85, it looks like, 'cause it's only reading 63, 62% when the car's running. So the way this hooks up is the harness comes through the firewall, and it's got connections and it plugs directly into this gauge. It's actually very simple. The difficult part is you actually have to splice into the harness coming through the firewall into the white wire, which is the signal wire from your flex fuel sensor. That, where you splice, will then run to your ECM. On your ECM, you're going to have 3 connectors. You're going to have a blue, a dark gray or black, and then a light gray. The blue is C1, the gray, dark gray is C2, and the light gray is C3. You're going to want to pin number 4 on C3. That is where your ethanol percentage is read in your ECM. It's actually not near as hard as it sounds, and it actually works pretty good if you get it connected correctly. It was kind of a pain in the butt to connect, but I did finally get it to work out. And what I ended up doing is, you can't find these pins anywhere. I went to GM, I've went everywhere to actually find a pin to repin the number 4 hole, because there's nothing in it except for a plug, and you pull the plug out. Well, I had some suggestions. Why not pull my pin for the rear O2 sensors, one of them, because they're not being in use anymore. And so that's what I ended up doing. I pulled one of my rear O2 sensor pins out, which happened to be right next to pin 4. I want to say it's like 5 and 6. So I pulled the pin right next to it, made sure on the schematic that it wasn't anything essential and it was a rear O2 sensor wire. I basically cut off a couple inches of it and ran a wire to it and soldered the connection in, moved the pin over to pin 4 and plugged it back in. It was very simple. And to kind of show you what happens, I'm going to turn my computer on and get HP tuners pulled up, and you can see where the alcohol percent reads. Okay, got HP tuners pulled up, and you can see right here's my alcohol percent. If you don't have it hooked up correctly, that will read 0. You will have no data coming through. I'm going to go ahead and start the car, and it won't change any because it's got a pretty constant rate, and I've actually ran this fuel through for quite a while. I've gone through a few warm-up stages, just trying to get everything kind of broke in before I go get it tuned. Have it fully tuned, I should say. It's been base tuned, so it is safe to run. So here we go, I'll start it up. Okay, so I've got HP tuners pulled up, and you can see right here in the middle of the screen is my alcohol percent, 61.3, which is pretty close to what my actual gauge is reading, so we know it's working. It'll read 0 if you aren't working properly. But this is basically just a short rundown on how to hook up your ethanol sensor and kind of show you how it works and just to verify that it does work. And I'm pretty anxious to get this to the tuner and get everything finished up and see what she does under full boost and power. If you have any questions, please ask. I will be happy to help you out with anything you need and answer anything I possibly can. I do want to reiterate on this video that it is for installation only. You will have to go in with HP tuners or another program and turn on all your flex fuel settings. I basically just wanted to show you how to wire it up and tell you how to wire it up, and then show you that it works the way I have it wired up. That way you know what I'm giving you is correct information.